What do I do with Series LLCs? Do we file reports for each separate series? So this is a good question. These are separate entities. Here in Texas, we have two flavors of Series LLCs, and it's basically dependent on when you formed those series. Now, first are called protected series. These were formed before January 1, 2022. Each series was created by a resolution and probably filed some sort of DBA with the Secretary of State, at least here in Texas. As a result, in my mind, I would treat each series basically as a DBA for the main original entity that was filed with the Secretary of State. So you'd report the original name, and then each DBA would be its own DBA, additional name, in that same report. That's going to be the default. But if you have separate EINs or taxpayer identification numbers for different series, I'd consider making individual filings, because when that EIN gets lined up with what the IRS has, if they don't see each EIN being reported, you may trigger some alarms back in Washington. So I don't have a good rule. We don't have clear instructions from FinCEN on it. Kind of squaring up, at least for those protected series, that's what I'd think about. Now, if the series was started June 1, 2022 or later, this is what we call registered series. Each series is created by filing a, not yet released form with the Texas Secretary of State. These are individual filings. I would instead treat each of those as separate entities that are reported separately. I'd probably also get a separate separate taxpayer identification numbers for each of those series, and then making those individual filings for each. So series LLCs, we don't have one clear answer. This is how we squared it up. If you've got a separate taxpayer identification number, I think that is probably the best way to determine what to do. Every time you get a new TIN or EIN, that's a trigger for a separate report, not necessarily the same entity.